Smart, smart, do. We are the children, the children of God. Come, come, come. We change our world. We have what it takes to do it smart and make it smart. Welcome to our Smart Do.
Hello grade 4 pupils, welcome to today's lesson. I'm taking you through a science and technology lesson on the topic water pollution. In the previous topic we discussed about air pollution, whereby we say pollution, the word pollution means making something unclean or making something unsafe for human use. When we are talking about water pollution means making water unsafe for human use. Just the same way as we say in air pollution, that air pollution is making air unclean. So water pollution is making water unclean or unsafe for human use. The word pollution itself means to make unsafe, or to pollute means to make unsafe or unfit for human use. So in this topic we are going to look at water pollution and examples of water pollutants. Examples of water pollutants. Water pollutants, just as we said in air pollution, a pollutant is something that pollutes the environment. Or water pollutant, these are things that make water unsafe or make water unclean for human use. And there are only two. These are mainly soil and waste. They are mainly soil and waste. For example, when you look at water that is in the river or the water that is flowing on the surface during rain or during the storm, once there is a lot of rain, water will be flowing on the ground. That water is not safe. You cannot just bend and start drinking that water or start fetching that water to go and cook. That water is not clean. Why? Because it contains soil particles. Soil is a water pollutant. The same way, when you look at water that is in the river, that is flowing in the river, that water, once it rains, it carries a lot of very many things. You'll realize that sometimes it is carrying waste, sometimes it is carrying logs of wood, it is carrying papers, it is carrying even clothes and very many other things, even dead animals. That water is not safe for drinking. It is polluted water. Why? Because it contains waste. Waste is something that cannot be used, something that is not good for use. So there are very different ways in which waste pollute water. I've discussed about soil. That for example, once you take clean water that is in clean water that in a glass, and you just fetch some soil and drop into that glass of water, that water you can no longer drink that water. Why? Because it contains soil. Soil is a water pollutant. Soil pollutes water, especially when it rains, because once the water is flowing from a higher ground to a lower ground, it carries with it a lot of soil. That water is already polluted. How does waste pollute water? For example, there are people who like maybe washing clothes on the river. Washing clothes on the river. Washing clothes on the river or on water sources. You go just along the river and the sides of the river and start washing clothes. Once you finish washing and cleansing the clothes, you pour that water into the river. You've already polluted that water. Another way is by disposing waste. Disposing waste or leaving yourself on the river. For example, especially with the young boys, you'll find them going and urinating on the water that is on the river. That is a way of polluting water, urinating on water. Sometimes you realize that, for example, the sewage. Sewage consists of a lot of waste. For example, after cooking, you throw the waste into the sewer pipes. Even after bathing, that water you use after bathing, it flows into the sewage pipes. That is another way of polluting water or making water unsafe. You can also have a grazing or a cows urinating or drinking from the water sources directly. Cow or other animals drinking from the water sources. That is another way of polluting water. Cows which graze along the river banks or even in the ponds, because in the previous classes we looked at sources of water. So once you graze your cows along those sources, those cows will deposit their waste into that water sources, and then they will be polluting water. So those are some of the examples of water pollutants and water pollution. I said water pollution means making water unsafe for drinking. We say there are only two main water pollutants. That is soil and waste. Domestic waste like kitchen refuse, that is those remnants like peeling, vegetable peelings, food remains, or any other thing from the kitchen, or even human dispose. Those are examples. Or even sometimes in factories, you realize that those factories, once they discharge their waste into their water sources, that water will be unclean. Waste from industries is another example of a water pollutant. Waste from industries. So those are some of the ways of making water unsafe. These are what we call water pollutants. In the next lesson, we'll look at the difference between clean water and unclean water. Thank you.